Reproduction in organism, lifespan and reproduction. The period from birth to the natural death of an organism represent its lifespan. Lifespan of different organism varies. Butterfly has got 1 to 2 weeks of lifespan. Crow has got 15 years of lifespan. Parrot has got 140 years of lifespan. Crocodile 60 years. Tortoise 100 to 150 years. Rice plant has got 3 to 7 months of lifespan. Elephant 50 to 70 years. Cow around 22 years. Horse around 40 years. Reproduction is defined as a biological process in which an organism gives rise to young ones, offsprings of its own kind. When offspring is produced by a single parent with or without the involvement of gamete formation, the reproduction is known as asexual reproduction. When two parents of opposite sex participate in the reproductive process and also involve fusion of male and female gamete, it is called as sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction. In this method, a single individual is capable of producing offsprings, hence it is also known as uniparental type of reproduction. The term clone is used to describe the morphologically and genetically similar individuals obtained from asexual reproduction. It is common in lower organisms like algae, fungi, bryophytes, pteridophytes, protozoans, sponges, cnidarians, flatworms, annelids, echinoderms. So we are done with lifespan and reproduction. Now let us start with asexual reproduction in animals. Asexual reproduction. Types of asexual reproduction in animals. Here are few types of asexual reproduction. First one is fragmentation. It is a process in which the parent body divides into the two or more species, some of which develop into the complete adult. Many fungi can reproduce by fragmentation. In animals, fragmentation is accompanied by regeneration. Regeneration is a growth of lost body parts. Reproduction by fragmentation and regeneration is seen in many species of protozoans. Coelentrates, flatworms, annelids, and some echinoderms. Budding. It is a process in which a new individual develops as a small outgrowth on the surface of the parent. This is seen in unicellular fungi like yeast. In yeast, a small projection is produced which initially remains attached to the parent and eventually gets separated and matures into a new organism. In multicellular organism like Hydra, cell of the gastroderm and epidermis undergo mitotic division, producing a projection. It first appears as a small protuberance on the outer surface of the body, which later differentiate into an adult. The bud may either remain attached or get detached to lead an independent life. This type of reproduction is seen in sponges, tunicates, and some of the coelentrates. Gemmules. It is a small bud of dormant embryonic cells seen in freshwater sponges like Spongilla. They are formed in interior of the parental body from the number of undifferentiated cells. They are enclosed in a chitinous envelope as a bryozoon or in a shell with spicules as in freshwater sponges. They are then set free in unfavorable conditions which develop into new individual on return of the favorable conditions. Sporulation. It is a process in which the organism produces specialized cells called spores. A spore is reproductive structure formed to tide over unfavorable climatic conditions over extended period of time. Spores form a part of the life cycle of many organisms like bacteria, algae, fungi, plants, and some protozoans. In some fungi, spores are produced in cells called sporangia. Example, in Rhizopus, Stoloniferous, common bread mold, etc. In terrestrial fungus produces airborne spores within the sporangia on ascending filament called sporangiophores. The hyphae branches and gives rise to the rhizoids, sporangiophores and stolons. The spores on germination develop into hyphae. Rhizoids are meant for anchoring and absorption while the sporangiophores bear the spores. In some algae like Chlamydomonas ulothrix, the spores are flagellated and motile and hence called as zoospores. Zoospores have wider distribution and increase the chance of survival. Conidia. These are the exogenous non-motile outgrowths commonly found in many fungi like Aspergillus, Penicillium, etc. They are born on the tip of the special hyphae called as conidiophores. Asexual reproduction in animals. Binary fissure, it is the simplest method of asexual reproduction. It is a process in which the parent cell divides into two daughter cells of approximately same size. It is common in bacteria, kingdom Monera, protozoans as well as some members of kingdom Animalia. In bacteria, since the nucleus is prokaryotic, the whole organism functions as reproductive unit and split into two daughter cells. The daughter cells further divide and give rise to two more daughter cells. In protozoans, since the nucleus is eukaryotic, the organism undergo mitotic division and produces two daughter cells. Example, in rhizopods like amoeba, binary fission is simple and irregular. In flagellates like Euglena, it is longitudinal. In ciliates like Paramecium, it is transverse. In platyhelminths like planarians, it is transverse binary fission. Multiple fission. It is a process in which the parent cell divides into too many offsprings of smaller size. It is exhibited by the protozoans like amoeba, plasmodium, monocytist, etc. In amoeba, to tide over the unfavorable condition, a cyst is secreted around itself and is called as encystation. On return of favorable condition, the amoeba divide by multiple fission to produce large number of spores or amebulae which are released on the rupture of cyst wall. Vegetative propagation. Asexual reproduction in plant is known as vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation is a process of multiplication in which a part of fragment of plant get detached and under suitable condition develop into independent plant. The structures used for the vegetative propagation are called as vegetative propagules. Types of vegetative propagules. Vegetative propagation by roots, vegetative propagation by stem, vegetative propagation by leaves and vegetative propagation by bulbs is common. Vegetative propagation by roots. Plants like tapioca, sweet potato, dahlia, asparagus, etc. produce the propagules at the root. Roots are modified into the storage roots which bear adventitious buds called as lips. These buds grow into the leafy shoots, get detached from the parent body and lead an independent life, thus propagating vegetatively. Vegetative propagation by stem. In most of the plants, stem is the main source of the vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation by stem can be done with the help of underground stem, subaerial creeping stem, aerial stem. Vegetative propagation by underground stem. In underground stem, vegetative propagation is by the formation of buds, example rhizome like ginger, turmeric. Tuber like potatoes, bulbs like onion, garlic, corm like Amorphophallus, gladiolus, colocasia, etc. forms the buds. These buds get detached from the parent body and develop into the independent plants. Vegetative propagation and artificial vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation by subaerial and creeping stem. Vegetative propagation is by the production of new shoots or crowns. Example, runners like lawn grass, suckers like mint and chrysanthemum, stolon like strawberry, offset like water lettuce, that is pistia, produce a new shoots or crowns which break off and develop into the new. Eichhornia, commonly called as water hyacinth, has become one of the most troublesome aquatic plant, difficult to get rid of, hence called as scourge of water bodies or terror of Bengal. Vegetative propagation by aerial stem. In some plants, the aerial stem replaces leaves as photosynthetic organ and are called as phylloclades. Such aerial stem are usually produced by the plants found in soil which have very little water content. Example, cacti like Opuntia, etc. Vegetative propagation by leaves. In plant like Bryophyllum and Crassula, vegetative propagation takes place by the rows of adventitious buds that are produced on the leaf margins. These buds may drop from the leaf and grow up into the new plants. Vegetative propagation by bulbils. Bulbils are the fleshy buds which then detach, develop into the new plants. Example, Allium sativum, agave, pineapple, etc. In Glabra bulbifera, some of the lower flowers of the inflorescence become modified into the small multicellular bodies called bulbils which fall to the ground and develop into the new plants. Artificial vegetative propagation. With the objective of improving economic crop and ornamental plant, various artificial methods of vegetative propagation has been developed which are as follows. Cutting. Part of the plant body such as root, stem, leaves are used for vegetative propagation. Layering. A lower branch is made to bend down and ring of the bark is removed and is buried into the soil from which the roots arise and then it is cut off from the parent plant and grown independently. Grafting. It is a method of joining two different. The branch that is inserted is known as graft or scion. The plant that is rooted to the soil is called as stalk. The graft grows retaining all its qualities while the stalk supports it by applying food and water. Sexual reproduction and sexuality in organisms. Sexual reproduction. It is a transmission of genetic characteristics by two parents to the offspring of next generation. It is advantageous over asexual reproduction because it introduces the possibility of variation into the new population. This is because it involves the production of sex cells or gametes which fuse to form the zygote. The zygote develops into a new offspring that differ from either of the parents. This difference of variation is the raw material for the evolution. Differences in asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction. It is uniparental. Sexual reproduction is biparental. Asexual is seen only in lower organisms. Sexual is seen in both lower as well as higher organisms. In asexual, no formation of sex cells or gamete takes place. In sexual, it involves the formation of sex cells or the gametes. In asexual, it involves only mitotic division. In sexual, it involves both mitotic as well as meiotic divisions. In asexual, the young ones formed are exactly similar to the parent and are called as clones. In sexual reproduction, the young ones formed differ from the parent and show variations. In asexual, since it does not offer variation, it does not contribute to the evolution. Sexual, it is one of the most important evolutionary factors. Sexuality in organisms. As a part of sexual reproduction, organisms produce sex cells or gametes within the sex organ called as gonads. When the male and female reproductive structures are present in the same individual, they are called as bisexual or monogamous. When the male and female reproductive structures are present in different individuals, they are called as unisexual or dioecious. In flowering plant, when a single plant bears both male and female flowers, it is called as monoecious. Example, coconut, maize, cucurbits, etc. In flowering plant, when the plant bears either male or female flowers, then it is called as dioecious. Example is papaya, marchantia, date palm, etc. In flowering plant, male flower bearing stamen is called as staminate flowers. Female flower bearing carpel is called as pistillate flowers. In algae and fungi, bisexual condition is called as homothallic and unisexual condition is called as heterothallic. Sexuality in organism and stages of life cycle. In primitive animals like hydra, the sex organs or gonads are temporary structures developed only at the time of sexual reproduction. While in higher organisms, the gonads are permanent structures retained throughout the life. In few animals like earthworm and liver flukes, the male and female sex organs are developed within a single individual. Such animals is called as hermaphrodite or bisexual or monoecious organism. In all the higher organisms, the male and female sex organs are developed in different individuals. Such animals are called as dioecious or unisexual animals. The male gonads are called as testes. They produce the male gamete called sperm and spermatozoon. The female gonads are called as ovaries. They produce the female gamete called as egg or ovum. Stages of life cycle. The life cycle of sexually reproducing organisms are represented by three stages: juvenile phase or vegetative phase, second one is reproductive phase also called as maturity phase, and third one senescence phase of aging. Juvenile phase or vegetative phase, the period of growth is called as juvenile phase. It is known as vegetative phase in plants. This stage has different duration in the different organisms. The reproductive phase or maturity phase, the end of the juvenile or vegetative phase indicates the start of maturity or reproductive phase. It involves formation of male and female gamete either by the same individual or by the different individual of opposite sex. In higher plants, the beginning of reproductive phase is marked by flowering. There are some plants like periwinkle, coconut, which flower throughout the year, while most of them like mango, jack, papaya, etc. are the seasonal plants. Bamboo species flowers only once in a lifetime, generally after 50 to 100 years, produce large number of fruits and die. Strobilanthes kunthiana, which is called as Neelkuranji, flowers only once in a 12 years. Its mass flowering transforms large tracts of hilly areas of Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu into blue stretches, attracting number of tourists. Most animals are seasonal breeders which are reproductively active only in favorable season. Example, frogs breed during monsoon, birds lay egg only in certain seasons. While the others are continuous breeders which are active throughout the season. Poultry birds in the captivity are stimulated to lay egg throughout the year through hormonal treatment which is done for the commercial exploitation. Non-primates like cow, sheep, deer, etc. exhibit cyclical changes in their reproductive phase called oestrus cycle. The cycle consists of a short period of oestrus or heat period followed by rather prolonged anestrus or passive or rest period. The female receives the male for copulation only during the heat period. The rest of the anestrus period is non-breeding. In primates like monkeys, apes and humans, the reproductive cycle is called as menstrual cycle. Such animals breed throughout the year and are called continuous breeders. Senescence, a phase of aging. This phase gradually results in the showing of physiological function leading towards the death of the organism. The branch of biology that deals with the study of cell senescence is known as gerontology. The branch of medicine that deals with the study of disease in aged people is known as geriatrics. In both plants and animals, the hormones and phytohormones regulate the transition between the above three phases.